For those of you who didn't know, I did a 100 hours of mid lane challenge, and in that time learned 6 champions, each focused on a different set of skills. And one of those champions was Akali, my literal biggest weakness in the mid lane, just because I want to learn how to beat her. So for the next 10 hours, I'm going to try to learn Akali in 3 steps. First, normal games, second, do some research, and third, play some ranked games. I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn every champion, so one day I can make the greatest Viego video ever. So what runes and build do you go on Akali? Well, the most common rune by far is Electrocute because it's pretty easy to activate when you're in your shroud. However, Conquer can also be good into certain team comps and with certain builds. For your build, you have 2 main options, the Burst build and the Bruiser build. For the Burst build, you pretty much always build Storm Surge to roam, Shadow Flame for burst, Zhonya's for survivability, Death Cap for damage, and Void Staff or Medjai's to top everything off. And for the Bruiser build, you want to go Leandre's and Riftmaker for HP and AP, Zhonya's for survivability, Death Cap for damage, and then Void Staff or Abyssal Mask for magic pen and survivability. But I'll talk more about the Bruiser build later in the video. And with that, on to some normal games. Speaking of normal games, it's time to talk about today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, a game I've actually been playing a lot recently and is anything but normal. And now has never been a better time to start playing Raid Shadow Legends, because if you download today with the link in the description or the QR code on screen right now, you can get 2 free epic champions and some free legendary champions. But that's not all. They're also giving away their newest legendary champion, Leminisi the Gold-wing, for free. Leminisi is a powerful light champion who is great at every game mode, especially the PvE campaign. And if you just log in for 7 days between July 3rd and August 20th, you'll get her for free. But don't wait, because you have to download and start getting her for free starting July 31st. Not only that, but you can get even more free legendary units by using one of the codes on screen now. And to be honest, if you're going to use any of the codes, I would recommend MONKEYKING. For those of you who don't know, I mained Wukong. That's the first champion I ever used to hit Diamond, so when I saw there was a Wukong in this game too, I immediately had to have him. You also constantly get free hero shards, which can be used in a bunch of different ways. Some are damage dealers, some are more like tanks, some focus more on healing, and some are just food to make your other characters stronger. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Death Knight. And it's just kind of relaxing to play with my raid team in between games of League of Legends, especially when my league teams always freaking suck. So don't forget to download today using the QR code somewhere on my screen or the link in the description to get a huge starter pack, where you not only get an epic hero, Tallia, right when you log in, but at level 15 you also get another epic hero, Drake, along with the free legendaries and other epics. Immediately I had an issue with energy. I haven't played that many energy champions, so I was not ready to just not be able to use my Q at the end of this fight. And since I wasn't familiar with Akali's kit yet, I forgot that my W gives me extra energy, so I totally could have gotten this kill here, my bad. But my goodness, was this champion fun. Sure, I was slow to activate my passive, and I was still clearly not good at Akali yet, but that didn't matter at this point. And then I got my ult. That kill may have made me a little bit overconfident, but I had a taste of greatness, and I was completely hooked on Akali in just my first game. And let me tell you, things were just getting started. I really can't stress enough how much fun I was having with Akali and how much I was learning. Like what fights I could take and what fights I couldn't take. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of these challenges is just getting used to a ton of playstyles I've never really played before and learning how awesome so many different champions are, which doesn't even include trying different builds, which I want to do more of. So to anyone watching this, forget ranks sometimes, forget the meta, and just play new stuff, because if this series has taught me anything, it's how much fun League can actually be when you aren't so focused on winning all the time. All right, never mind, I'm a god. And I don't know why this feeling hit me so hard when I was playing Akali, but I just think it's important to remember League is a game and we're supposed to have fun with it. But hey, we all get a little bit frustrated sometimes. Fuck me, I'm not in that thing, man. Anyway, back to learning Akali. I was quickly learning that she loves skirmishes. These are fights where she can easily activate her passive with her shroud and mobility. With less enemies around, it's way harder to lock Akali down, and it's way easier for Akali to single out 1 or 2 enemies to get some free kills. Because let me tell you, when Akali does get locked down with CC, she basically just dies immediately. This means in fights, sometimes it's actually better to escape with your ult than go for a kill. Like here, after getting the Anivia kill, I probably should have used my second ult to run away instead of forcing a fight, getting CC'd, and dying. Or here, I should have used my second ult to jump over the wall and escape, instead of trying to use my E and combo Anivia, who still had passive, by the way. I also learned Akali has a pretty weak laning phase. She can trade with her Shroud, but if you use it to trade, she's weak to ganks and might not have it for fights like this. So I found it's better to play safe until about level 6, and then you can look for fights. Unless the enemy plays way too far up, then you can maybe go for an early kill actually. Like here, the enemy Malzahar did not respect me or my damage, so I basically was able to just walk up behind them and kill him. But this weaker laning phase is why it's so important to roam and get kills early to try to start snowballing as quickly as possible. And that's the main goal with Akali early. Don't take too much poke, so if the enemy oversteps or you have a good roam opportunity, you can more easily win the fight. I may not have been the fastest or the cleanest with Akali, but I had already learned so much and was so excited to keep going. After these games, I realized Akali is one of my favorite champions ever. So I did some research on YouTube and here's what I found. 1. Akali's ult and E combo is a lot easier than you think. Basically, all you have to do is ult from max range or almost max range, and while you're flipping over the enemy, use your E. It's almost impossible to dodge and it sets up the rest of your combo. But this combo does not work if you ult close to your enemy. It takes too long for the animation to come out and your E is way easier to dodge, which could mess up the rest of your combo. 2. Akali has an actually pretty good short trade in lane. I was a little scared to do it at first, but something that helped me was using my Shroud, using my E backwards to jump to the enemy, slapping him with a few abilities, and then Eing back to safety. 3. Another way to trade in lane is using your W when the enemy wants a cannon minion. Basically, you can zone them away from the cannon minion with your invisibility, and if they go for it anyway, you just hit them with your full combo. 4. Sit in your Shroud for as long as possible. I had a bad habit of using my W and running away immediately trying to escape, but it's way better to just stand in your Shroud for 5 seconds for most fights. Your abilities can come off cooldown, you can juke out the enemy, you can stall for your team to arrive, or you just somehow kill somebody on your own. 5. If your ult is up, look to skirmish. You have so much pressure when your ult is up because you can kill almost anybody if you space well and use your passive. You can also skirmish without your ult, you just have to be a little more patient, just keep that in mind. Anyway, on to some ranked games. And even though my first ranked game got off to a shaky start, I was already playing with so much more confidence because not only was I getting better mechanically, but I kind of knew what I was doing now thanks to my research. And my chat started to realize too. You got the Akali technique in you. But even though my fundamentals had started to improve, I still had a big issue with team fighting and not really respecting the enemy's damage sometimes. Which led to some nice scores with 1v1 outplays and cleaning up fights like this, but ultimately losing the game because I didn't know how to carry games or team fights. And this problem wasn't a one-time issue either. I was going to have to change something, like my build. So I started playing Bruiser Akali with Conqueror. My thought process was the burst build was overkilling people most of the time anyway. So what if I traded a bit of damage for survivability and consistent damage? I mean, look at this fight. I completely miss my E, but still have plenty of damage and get a double kill, all while having 700 bonus health. Or this fight, where I was able to survive way longer than I should have and not only kill Lee Sin, but turn around and also kill Malzahar, all while feeling like a mechanical god. But like I said earlier, even though I was actually playing pretty well, I just had a hard time carrying fights. I've seen good Akalis do it in the past, so I know it's possible. I was just doing something wrong. So I went back to Burst Akali for now, until I just, got better at Akali in general. And boy, was that a good decision, because I got so far ahead, I just couldn't help but carrying this game. And this was actually really good to see, because it helped me regain my confidence with Akali after a few rough games. Like, I could just tell most of the pieces were there. I was getting better at laning, roaming, and skirmishing. I just had one last missing piece before I was good at Akali. Having a game like this couldn't have come at a better time because I knew if I could just play half this well in the early game, I'd learn how to play team fights eventually. It was during this game where I actually had one of my first good team fights and I started to understand. I used my mobility to dash from enemy to enemy, and even though I wanted to dive in with Akali, I realized that might not be my role. Maybe I shouldn't look for team fights at all, but instead look just for free kills, like killing the enemy AD carry 1v1 or cleaning up a team fight after the enemy is low. Almost like an assassin. But this little brain blast did not mean I was gonna instantly change my playstyle. I mean, for most of my League of Legends career, I've been a tank or bruiser player. So I still had a bad habit of just diving into fights sometimes. Okay, maybe more than just sometimes. Okay, look, some habits are hard to break sometimes. Overall though, my mindset was starting to change. Like this fight, where I almost died and needed to ult for safety. But this was actually a good thing because it forced me to fight like an assassin, biding my time, quickly going for a kill and then getting out, which resulted in 3 kills in a 1-team fight. Okay, I think I played that pretty badly, but I think I recovered very well. With every game, I was getting better with my mechanics, with my skirmishes, with my trades in lane, and my roams. Sure, I still had a few mechanical misplays. Oh my god. But I was also good enough to cover them up because I was comfortable with the rest of Akali's kit. I was playing so well, and my confidence was at an all-time high. I could just taste the win streak about to happen.
I'm an Akali. You can't fight me.
If I could just fix my freaking team fighting. Like, I was getting good picks, but then I would just go way too deep and not wait for my cooldowns. And that's when it finally hit me. I had finally unlocked my new special move. Just slowing the heck down. Like, in this small fight, I didn't immediately recast my E because I wanted to just make sure I had enough damage. Or here, where I waited for the enemy to flash before using my E. If I used my E too early and missed Caitlyn, she probably would have just gotten away. Or even fights where I don't use my mobility at all and just play slow with my Q. And not only did this mentality help with my 1v1s, but it also helped with my team fighting. This doesn't mean I can't make fast plays if I see an opportunity, you just can't do this all the time in a full 5v5. Luckily, it was just the enemy AD carrying support, so we destroyed them right away. So, after about 6.5 hours, things were starting to click for me. From laning, to roaming, and now finally, team fighting. Not to mention, I was just way more confident with Akali now and landing her ult and E combo more consistently, leading to some clean kills and making me look like an Akali main. But no matter how hard I tried, I kept thinking about the bruiser build I played at the start of the challenge. Like, I way overkilled Karthus here, maybe I could just build a little bit more defensive. So now that I figured out how to play Akali in fights, you know, like an assassin, time to see if building her like a bruiser would fit my playstyle better and maybe help me play better. Instantly, I loved Conqueror on Akali. In fact, changing to Conqueror led to one of the craziest outplays I've had so far. Seriously, I do not think I would have survived this and gotten a double kill if I had Electrocute. And like I said earlier, I still had plenty of damage to kill squishy targets. Now, I just had enough survivability to play more aggressively like I'm used to. Oh yeah, and the percentage HP damage from Leandre's, the consistent damage from Riftmaker and Conqueror, and the tenacity from Merc Treads was the perfect counter to the enemy team comp because they were tanky and had a ton of CC. It may not be the optimal build, but sometimes you just discover something that works for you and you just gotta keep playing it. Akali's mobility, spammable Q, and invisibility were peanut butter to my bruiser build's jelly. It was also much easier to play. For example, if I fell behind on Burst Assassin Akali, the game was pretty much over for me. But with Bruiser Akali, it was so much easier to come back because I wasn't just a damage champion. I was more of an annoying champion with the ability to secure kills and buy time for my team, all while still having the mobility of an assassin. So when my team lost a fight 4-0, I was able to clean up a few kills and escape with my life. And my favorite thing about this build is if you play against another assassin, it's so much harder for them to kill you. Meanwhile, you still have the damage to kill them. Pair all of that with Ocean Soul and my amazing mechanics, and all of a sudden this build was able to do things I was never able to do before with Burst Akali. But I was about to realize why this isn't Akali's main build.
I played that almost bad and then almost good, and then I think I played it good in the end.
You see, even though this build helped me outplay some situations where I probably should have died, I did lack burst damage that would have gotten me kills in other situations like this, which led to some pretty embarrassing deaths. And although it did make me tankier, it didn't make me a tank, which also made me go for plays I probably shouldn't have.
Let me move!
And last, even though this build does do better against assassins and tanks, without burst, you are really weak to duelists because of their incredible DPS. So yes, I love the build and definitely see the upside, but I also think it's more of a situational build. It's definitely good against tanky team comp, so if the enemy has like 3 or more bruisers or tanks, I think this build can actually be very good. But in most situations, the normal burst Akali build is just better. And like I said earlier, the burst build is way better against duelists like Yone. This is because you can assassinate him before he can scale up his DPS. Seriously, if I was going Bruiser here, Yone might have had enough time to fully stack his lethal tempo and actually kill me. But thanks to Electrocute and my items, I was able to kill him before any of that happened. So even though I didn't fully understand the assassin playstyle, you know, like mechanically and in teamfights, I did understand why it was good, especially on Akali. Rounding out the final few hours, I was happy with the progress I had made, and Akali has quickly become one of my favorite 10-hour challenges so far. She has the ability to 1v1 almost anyone in the game, has 2 good builds, even though one is kinda situational, and has amazing skill expression once you get used to her kit. Is she still one of my least favorite champions to play against? Abso-freaking-lutely. This champion is nuts, and if I'm this good after just 10 hours, imagine what it's like to play against an actual Akali player. But I also understand her more fundamentally. She has a weak early game until she gets her ult, she mostly wants to look for small skirmishes instead of full-on teamfights, and if you dodge her E, she loses a lot of damage. And I just realized my final game I was actually playing Bruiser Akali again, but watching my ability to outplay this Sejuani with less than half HP was so awesome. I really did love that build. So yeah, Akali was a blast, and I hope you all enjoy her as much as I did. Oh yeah, and don't forget to use the link in the description or the QR code on screen now to download Raid Shadow Legends today and get free epic and legendary heroes. Oh yeah, I stream pretty much every day on Twitch and YouTube, so check me out, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, it helps me out a ton.